going to start talking and get this bad boy going. Oh. Right. All right. We're with Nicole Small. Nicole, you with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, what's up? This is our 2020 primary election preview. Nicole, do you see I have my Suns Out, Guns Out shirt on?
I can see that.
You know why I have it on?
No, I don't.
I have it on. And a picture of my good friend in the background. I won't say her name. My good friend in the background, because it's going to be hot. The 2020 primary is going to be absolutely hot. And I think everybody needs to wake up and realize why it's going to be so hot. I mean, you've been on it all afternoon, going back and forth to clerk's office, and we're looking at the state data right here on my system over here. But before we even get to that, Nicole, do you realize that you and one other person are the only experts in this type of election this summer?
Oh, wow.
Do you know what that means? You know why?
Why is that?
Because, as your font to remind me, you got 57,000 votes with no money, no ability to mail, okay? And there's no way you could have knocked that many doors. This summer, it's actually the same set of circumstances that you and Charter Commissioner Joanna Underwood faced when you were running for Charter Commission, all right? No way to walk. Nobody's going to answer your door for you in a mask, okay? That's number one. Number two, not enough money to mail, okay? That's number two. And number three, they're going to have to use the internet, only like you all did. Talk a little bit before we get into the numbers about how you all use the internet to pull that thing off.
Really being very intentional about targeting voters via email and more so pursuing those community groups, targeting them, hoping and encouraging them to share that with their membership. That was a big part of it, as well as social media. Social media used correctly can be very effective. I'm not one who believes that these algorithms and sometimes I think that these progressive campaigns, they delve too deep into digital organizing. And so they don't understand that it's voters that vote and not so much the algorithms and the digital organizing. Detroit, which carries the vote for most state rep seats, commission seats, as well as congressional seats, you know, people want to be touched. They want to speak to you. They want to know you, or they need to know someone else who knows you. So you have to be very persuasive and strategic about how do you do that with not a lot of money. You figure the incumbents now stand a greater chance of winning because they already have money in the budget. And once you're an incumbent, it's easier to fundraise than being a new candidate. So more than likely, not only will they have their own independent mailers, but they can use their budgets within the office to send out mails. It doesn't say vote for me, but it's a reminder of who they are. And it gives them it puts them up on a pedestal as far as name recognition. So what can some of the new candidates now who are targeting those term limited seats do, as well as some of them who are looking.
Go back to that point just for a second of those reminder mailings. People may recall how many mailings they actually got from the DIA, okay? The DIA, when they were running for their renewal millage, which they said they didn't want, but they ended up, you know, wanting, they mailed and mailed and mailed. They like mailed every week. Yeah. And to do that, that takes an incredible amount of money. It takes an incredible amount of money. Before we give away too many of your secrets, because I really think that you and Joanna Underwood should do a seminar on what you all did. Now, I don't want to leave out the 14th district, which included you on their mailer, okay? Last time around when you ran for Charter Commission. So let's not forget that. But as I understand it, the 14th only mailed 10,000 pieces. 10,000 does not equate to 57,000. You know, I think Rick Blocker and company did a yeoman's job, but 10,000 does not equate to 57,000 votes. All right. So let's get into the craziness of it. Let's start with the 13th Congressional District. According to the state website, the only one that's filed so far is Rashida Tlaib. I understand that Brenda Jones is going to be filing. That's the information I get. That should
That's
still
the
be a hot
information I'm
race.
getting too.
Okay, and that'll be a hot race. We have a guy named Al Limino, a Republican, that's running against him, but that won't happen until November. The interesting one is over here in the 14th district. You got Brenda Lawrence, of course, the incumbent. She's running, and you got another Democrat, Terence Morrison. Now, typically, when you have a respected Democratic Congresswoman, you don't have anybody running against her. What do you think's going through Mr. Morrison's mind? He got 1,522 petition signatures. He went for it.
I mean, I think it's time that we start challenging incumbents who are complacent. And listen, it's anybody's race to win. I don't know what his specific issues may be, but maybe he feels like there's a time for change in the 14th Congressional District for whatever reason. But I'm going to say this: we need more incumbents to be challenged, whether you support them or not. Even with the 13th Congressional District as well. I mean, to walk someone into that seat and to have them unchallenged, I don't think that you keep candidates on their toes. And we do
But I mean, I'm a Brenda Lawrence supporter and a Brenda Jones supporter. You think that challenging somebody makes them realize the importance of their job and why they need to keep it, what they need to do for the citizens?
If it's done in the right way. I mean, to challenge them and not even garner 30% of the vote, no. I mean, it's laughable to the incumbent, and it's not a good way to ensure that they understand that, you know, that seat is not theirs. The seat belongs to the public. And that's where a lot of times I believe candidates and incumbents especially, they go wrong. You may currently hold that particular level of office, but that's not your seat. It's the people's seat.
Let's take it where it gets hot. Let's start with my neighborhood, shall we? Second state rep, second district state rep. You've got Taylor Harrell is running against incumbent Joe Tate. Who's Taylor Harrell? Do you know that person?
Yeah, she ran on the People's Slate as well. She's worked with
she's one of your crew?
Yeah, she was, and she was a staff person for Mary Sheffield. She ran Stephanie Chang's seat. She's done some good work with some social justice organizations. And really? I think to allow, again, Joe Tate is new, don't get me wrong, to that particular office, but I don't think that he should go unchallenged either. I think that there are some gaps that need to be filled. And I think that this will be a very interesting race to see how Taylor is going to approach getting those areas that are very tight knit over there. When you really think about it, I think that he has done a phenomenal job of securing the points, growth points, but to ensure, I think he's going to get a lot more challenge and competitiveness out of Taylor with the Lower East Side.
I think that growth point is going to be a bear.
It's definitely going to be a bear.
That's going to be a bear because they like big old Joe Tate. It's like the song of the South. Let's continue here. Did you get that one? Did you get that one? That didn't go over your head.
Yes, I did, Steve.
Dippity-doo-dah, dippity-dah. Okay, in the third state rep district, you have China Cochran, John Cromer. Wow. Donovan McKinney, Sri Thanadar, and Art Tyus. BJ Williams is not on this list. I'm sure the state's list is behind. He may have registered, not gone to but I know BJ is going to go for the third district, right?
Yeah, he's been campaigning.
He's been campaigning. I don't know why he's not. I don't know. I don't know why he's not on the state's list, but he's not on the state's list as of right
now. He very well could have waited until today to file. That wouldn't surprise me.
Right. John Cromer's a name I'm surprised with here. John has an interesting following. I mean, I didn't think he'd come out for this. And then you got China Cochran. How are you calling this race here? And then you have Sri.
So,
say it.
I don't know. Let me say this. As far as Al BJ Williams, which we all know that he's been around for some time. if you talk about somebody where you say that this is in their wheelhouse as far as being strategic, knowing how to use policy to his advantage personally, I would think that if he had the right kind of backing behind him, he could be a force to be reckoned with. China's ran before.
Let's go back to Al.
I'm sorry.
Let's go back to Al. Let's go back to little BJ for a second. I don't mean to call him little BJ, but let's go back to little BJ for a second. All things being equal, if you could go door to door, I think BJ could take it to these people, but you can't. You already said it's repetitive mailing.
But he's already done some of that work. Let's not forget. He was on the doors before the whole COVID virus hit. And he was out there with some of those decent days that we had. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me, but I swear that he was out there at the end of last year. I know earlier this year he was on doors and he has already been attending community meetings.
But what happens to community meetings now? All that work gets equalized by the lack of ability to contact and touch the voter.
Well, Shree's touching voters. He's still dropping literature off at the door.
Wow. That's money, right?
That's real money. And I'm quite sure his mailers are going to be frequent and they're going to be large. It won't be a half page.
They'll be frequent and they'll be large like his hairdo. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say about the 3rd district before we get into the craziness?
I actually thought that was going to be the hottest seat, to be honest with you. But now, unfortunately, with the loss of Isaac Robinson, I really see that seat heating up. I know with the 3rd district, there are a lot of people who want to be honest with you. They want to keep that seat. They want to have an African-American in that seat. So I don't know how Shree will fare over there in that area. I don't know how seriously people in University District, Palmer Woods, Green Acres are going to take him, but we'll see.
All right, let's go on to the 4th district. This is where it gets interesting, and you just called it. Here we go. Shabab Ahmed out of Hamtramck. Abraham Aliash out of Hamtramck. Anthony Ali out of Detroit. Saad Abdulshami out of Hamtramck. Christopher Collins out of Detroit. DeLorean Holmes out of Detroit. Frazier H. Kempson. Is that the senior?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Working with State Rep Wendelberg.
Okay, that's Frazier Kempson out of Detroit. Michelle Obenhauser, Hamtramck. Tanya Myers Phillips out of Detroit. Gregory Rayner out of Detroit. Tawana Simpson. Detroit. Sigmund John.
We see him every now and then in a few different places.
Really? You can pronounce that last name? How do you pronounce it?
I don't know. He ran for mayor, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Here in Detroit.
Okay. And then my girl, Corletta J. Vaughn.
Yeah.
Okay. Christopher Wojtowicz out of Hamtramck. Is that the former treasurer's son?
Maybe his grandson. I couldn't see his age, so I couldn't call it.
And Howard Wethington of Detroit. That's a whole bunch of people.
A lot of people. But that means you need less votes to win too, right?
Right.
So it can work in your favor.
I mean, I think you can pull this one with what, 1,600 votes? I think you'd actually win it if you look at the likely voters that are over there. I mean, I think that's just crazy.
So let's talk about who's going to have the money. You figure, I'm quite sure Michelle will get some money. Pastor Coretta Vaughn, she'll get some money. And probably a couple of the other ones over there living. Did you say Saad? Somebody Saad was running. Seemed like I looked him up before. He may have some money. But this is where I think grassroots actually has a chance to ensure that someone fulfills some of the bills that Isaac had in his pipeline. You look at an Abraham and you look at a Tawana Simpson who have done the work out here on the ground already, and grassroots would definitely be looking at them. I think the other ones will sort of cancel themselves out because they kind of come more so with the support of the establishment. So we'll see how that works out.
When you say grassroots, What do you mean? Your group or your group and other groups?
Well, my group and other groups, I think they're definitely going to be looking at Abraham and Tawana Simpson. Tawana Simpson has been out here. She's worked for the school board. She definitely supported Isaac on his campaign and was very active and engaged in his campaign as well. Abraham was a part of the Young Dems. He's worked with Michigan United. I've known Abraham for a couple of years too. He has some really good policies that he would like to see actually come into fruition. And I believe the same thing for Tawana Simpson. So I think if they play their cards right, they can allow the other ones who will kind of fight over the same vote to cancel themselves out because they don't have that reach with grassroots. So if you could get just a certain portion of the establishment to support you and they can figure out what's going to happen with grassroots, I think that they could be the top two.
I think Hamtramck is going to make it. All right. I mean,
it's a great chance.
Huh?
It's a great chance that Hamtramck will make it.
Yeah, Hamtramck. I mean, that's the tipping point. If Detroit is split like that, you've got to get some sort of base vote out of Hamtramck to win that thing.
And I don't think it's Michelle Oberholzer at all. I don't.
Yeah.
She has a lot of connections to, I mean, she's worked with the United Housing Coalition, but a lot of people in grassroots feel that she's directly connected to Gilbert and Duggan, and they have some concerns. She's from Chesterfield, so that could be a strike against her.
Notice I have the vote blue cup.
And I love the color. I love
we don't do red coat.
You don't do red.
Oh. We don't do red on the vote. No. And this is water. Let's continue because I need to get some air because you've got Cynthia Johnson being challenged in the 5th state rep district by Rita Ross.
Yeah, she ran against her last time. They actually had to that was that seat where they had to Rita challenged her votes, I believe it was, because Cynthia won by a slim margin.
Mm-hmm.
So
and let's just say Cynthia hasn't made as many friends as I thought she would during her first term.
And I don't think Rita stopped working. That's one thing about her. I don't know if she stopped working. I think she's been behind the scenes working to increase her chances of actually winning this time. But it's hard to beat an incumbent. We'll see.
Let's continue here. Let's go out to the 6th district out in Southwest Detroit. We have the COVID-19 survivor, Tyrone Carter, the incumbent. And we have, who is this? Nicole Ivy Neal and David Palmer. Now, why are you going to mess with the COVID-19 survivor?
So let me say this. Sometimes I wonder if people run just to have an identity campaign, because eventually he'll be term limited, correct? Or maybe they'll challenge him on his last term.
Well, actually, before he's term limited, isn't his seat redrawn?
Oh yeah,
this is 2020. The next time out, they're redrawn, right?
But hear me out. I believe that some people really do run an identity campaign, and I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to you thinking, you know what, I don't have the strongest chances of winning, but I need to get my name out there. And what better way to get my name out there than to be able to go to talk to people about my issues, and then you can always improve upon that, right? As long as you don't exhaust all of your resources. You have to do it in a very strategic way. I don't know too much about these people. I doubt with Tyrone Carter's connections that I don't know if they'll beat them. I would have to see what kind of campaign you're going to run. And I'm going to tell you another thing. This whole idea that you're going to pull in voters who normally don't vote, if you're not intentional about targeting that large base of voters that vote consistently, which are our absentee voters, you will not win. I say this every campaign. You can give it up.
Here's the interesting part. Here's the interesting part. The whole absentee voter universe has changed now because of COVID-19. You used to be able to identify directly to within 3 to 5% who was going to vote absentee. All right. Mm-hmm. You knew that. But now you don't, because nobody's going to want to go that poll. So the whole absentee voter universe has changed. which is why
It's
what
increased.
you,
We're
hold
gonna
on,
see an uptick. We're
which
gonna
is,
see an uptick. But
but
at the end of,
which is,
but
look, this is why what you and Joanna Underwood did is so important, because the absentee universe has changed totally.
it's changing. It's changing. We haven't really seen what that change will look like. This is what I always say. People think that allowing people who typically don't vote to have an opportunity to vote absentee is what's going to increase the turnout. Let's talk about what voting absentee looks like. You have to fill out an application, then they send you your ballot. And so then once you fill out your ballot, you have to mail it back in or go and drop it off. I could think of all kind of excuses that someone who's really not that engaged will give you for why, even if they get the ballot, how do we know that they're actually going to turn it in? And then you can't go out and do some GOTV work to ensure that they turn it in. So you're kind of, you're stuck in that aspect. So again, I would go back to the traditional absentee voter, those who have voted in the last 3 elections, typically those who are over the age of 60. You're gonna have to target that base of voters. You hope to garner the support and the turnout of people of a younger age demographic. But first and foremost, you have to touch that group of people. You cannot win without them.
But touching them is the hardest part now.
Well,
Touching them is the hardest part, because when people get a mailer, what do? Most of the time they toss it out.
you have a phone bank.
If you can phone bank, but when you phone bank, you hear that voice, da, 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 get off my phone.
I don't know. Let me say this. With this whole COVID, I think that people want to know what's going on. They see how we have failed leadership at all levels of government, especially people in the African American community and the brown and Latino community as well. I don't know. People may be really fed up and they may be interested to see, you know what, let me check somebody else out.
Okay, let's continue. Let's go to the 7th District State Rep. Wow, this is wild. We have Nydia Bentley on Steel Street. We have Eileen Robinson from Rhode Island in Highland Park. How does that work? Okay, I didn't know Highland Park was in the 7th District.
That's Latanya Garrett's seat, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
no, it goes to Highland Park. Really, if you use that right, that's a powerful seat to be able to have this city council, District 2, and to be able to cross over to Highland Park. If you have any other political aspirations, you can definitely use that seat as a springboard.
Well, let's continue. You got Helena Scott. You've got Anistia Thomas. Isn't that whatchamacallit's ex-girlfriend? Virgil Smith?
Yes, sir.
No. Huh?
Yes, sir.
That is her. Okay. The Mercedes-Benz that he shot and killed.
That is her. Yes, you are correct.
He shot and killed her Mercedes-Benz, right. Poor Mercedes-Benz. Bernard Thompson, Cynthia L. Thornton, Lee Yancey, he lives, and Ronald Cole. That seat, how you calling that?
So right now, Elena has the most name recognition.
Right.
She's done the most work. And Cynthia Thornton, very smart. I mean, I think that she would be able to push some strong progressive policies that would actually reshape what that district looks like. But again, I'm gonna be honest with you. Elena Scott has a lot of name recognition. She's been very active. And let's not forget, up until she filed, she was also working for Latanya Garrett. So you know how that works. She has contact with those actual constituents. They've done some senior events over there. So there's that voting base of people that I keep talking about that we know will vote.
Okay.
I think she has the upper hand on quite a few, but we'll see how they utilize this COVID crisis in their favor.
I hate to bring this into it, but in that race, who gets the Duggan support and Duggan money?
Ooh.
Does Anistia Thomas get it?
Maybe.
Who is the Duggan candidate in that race? I mean, that's always something.
It would almost have to be her.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
You know, let me say this. Elena Scott is grassroots.
Mhm.
But don't slip on her. She's worked for the county clerk before.
Right.
She's worked with Latanya Garrett. I mean, I'm quite sure they're approaching her.
Mhm. Let's go into the 8th district. Uh, you've got Anthony Bradford, Reggie Reg Davis, George Etheridge, Stephanie Young, and Teresa Gorak.
So
All
I think
right.
it'll be a toss up between Stephanie Young and George Etheridge. Absolutely.
What
Stephanie
about
was
what
the
about
district
Reggie? You
manager.
forgetting about Reggie Reg? I don't know my name, Davis.
That's exactly why. Forget them. So I would say
Ooh.
Stephanie Young has, and I don't support people who disrespect Black women. So
Me either.
yeah. But honestly, Stephanie Young, she has an advantage. She was the district manager over there, and I can tell you, I know quite a few of the community leaders. They really liked her. They love Stephanie. Then you have George. George is brilliant. He's really, really smart. He knows policy like the back of his hand. And you have a lot of economic challenges over there in that district with businesses. And George can bring some sound, progressive ideas to assist them. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. And he also works for the city of Detroit. But I'm quite sure Duggan is putting all of his support behind Stephanie until he sees otherwise. And then, he'll play both sides of the coin.
All right, let's continue here. Let's go out to the 9th district. Really, really interesting. You have Mark Cummings, who's a Democrat, Nicole Elcock, Rosalind Ogman, Karen Whitsett, and James Stevens. Whitsett is the incumbent COVID survivor and recent visitor to the White House.
Yeah, to support a drug that all I've been hearing on CNN today is how it's killed more people than it's actually helped.
In that VA hospital study, yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes. So
does
Rosalind's a great organizer. She's worked with Michigan United, I believe SEIU as well. She's done a lot of work on affordable housing and the land bank with Detroit. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of this. It's an organization with Brandon Snyder. But I did receive a lot of calls. I'll be totally transparent after Karen Whitsett made her public support of Trump and the drug. And I told them that if I had to bet on anyone over there, I didn't even know about the other people running. It was such a quiet race. Some of those people probably just signed up, but Rosalind is a strong organizer. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And I'm quite sure that a lot of the colleagues, whether they'll admit it or not publicly, I don't think that they're too pleased with Karen.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine from way back, but as of late, she's really disappointed. I don't know what to say about that. Let's go into the 10th district. Leslie Love is no longer there. Well, she's term limited this year.
That's my district.
That's your district. You have Mary Kavanaugh. Looks like Phil and them coming back, huh? Marcus Cummings, Kevin Lamont Harris, Brenda Hill, Steele P. Hughes.
Did you say Marcus Cummings?
I said Marcus A. Cummings from Pembroke Street in Detroit.
I know Marcus. That's my community neighbor.
Oh, okay. Kevin Lamont Harris, Brenda Hill, Steele P. Hughes, Tyson Kelly, Dejan Ruffin, Valley Smith, and Kathy Alcon. So, what do we say about that?
Didn't know Valley was running. Didn't know Valley Smith was running. So that's interesting. So Kevin worked with Leslie Love, and for a while he was going unchallenged. I think that a lot of these people recently just signed up to get in the race. Brenda Hill, I think that she would bring the power that we need, the strength that we need of a state rep to ensure that we bring some resources back to this district for the people. Didn't know Marcus was in there. He finally signed up. He's very active in Shaper 7-8 and in District 2, which is part of District 2 is a large portion of that district. City Council District 2 is what I mean. And the only reason why I reference that is because it's the largest voting district, highest income, highest in education.
Mhm. Well, with that said, Nicole, does that then give the race to Mary Kavanaugh if she
Oh,
brings
no,
Redford out?
no,
If she doesn't bring, if she brings the votes of Redford out, that doesn't give it to
no,
her?
because I believe people like a Brenda Hill can also garner some of the support of Redford as well.
South Redford. Or is it
Yes,
North Redford? South Redford.
no, South. It's
Okay.
close to 8 miles.
Why don't you take us a little closer to home? These are the state rep races. You have some information for us on the county races. Let's talk
Yeah,
about the prosecutor's race. Who's
let's
running
talk
for
about it.
prosecutors? Let's talk about the prosecutor's race.
Victoria Burton Harris, she's in a race. She signed up, I think, in November of last year to run against Kim Worthy. And right now, I know Real Justice and a few other national organizations have endorsed her. They're supporting her. Right now, she's going to have to be very strategic about targeting again those seniors over and over again. From what I hear, or from on a good authority from several different people, Kim is concerned about her being challenged. Not only is Victoria young, but Victoria has done some phenomenal work for a lot of our brothers and sisters who have been charged and some of them incarcerated. She believes in restorative justice. She believes that there needs to be more of a balance with sentencing and advocacy for the victims. So she would be a breath of fresh air for Wayne County. You have to keep in mind Wayne County, especially when you get to the other cities, the outlier cities, they're very conservative, in my opinion. They can claim to be Democrats, but they vote the traditional way. A lot of them do love Kim Worthy for the simple fact that she convicted Kwame Kilpatrick. But if Victoria stays the course, she has a strong platform. I definitely believe she could get the support of a lot of Detroiters. A lot of people are ready for change in that seat, especially after charging that 10-year-old in Canton when Kim Worthy did that, the 10-year-old for dodgeball. And it took a lot of effort to get her to drop those charges. It wasn't an easy feat. And from my understanding from a couple of other attorneys, she wasn't that cooperative with allowing some of the people who were convicted of nonviolent crimes or their sentences, they were due for release from their sentences within, I don't know, 3 months. Initially, she wasn't that supportive, and it was a tough call and a huge feat, let me say that, in order to get her to actually release those people who were incarcerated.
May I retort? First of all, we've been going on for a while. This is Nicole Small, Detroit Charter Commissioner Nicole Small, who, along with Joanna Underwood, actually has the greatest insight on what it's going to take to win this election, because it can't be done door to door. It's got to be done by mail and social media. And these two got so many votes off that way. Her knowledge is worth listening to, but she's wrong on Kim Worthy, because let me tell you why. Kim Worthy has been there stalwart. Yeah, that whole dodgeball incident, okay, that's a mark, okay. Kim Worthy has been there. She's gonna be there, and of any incumbent, I don't see her getting taken out. I don't see her getting taken out. It would take so much to just dethrone her. It just won't happen.
Oh, I disagree.
Okay, well,
I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. There were so many people in the community never heard of Victoria Burton Harris and would kind of just look at her literature and turn their head until they heard that she was running against Kim Worthy. So I think that there are a lot more people than what you think who are ready for a change in that seat. So I think it'll be interesting. I definitely know it'll be much more of a challenge than what she had before with the last person. I can't even remember his name. He only had a handful of votes.
Well, all I have to say is sun's out, guns out. It's going to be one hell of an election. Let's move on to the county treasurer's seat. Who's running against Eric Sabreze? Anybody doing that?
The only person I know of is Beverly Kendall Walker, but I guarantee you by the time when tomorrow or Thursday comes around, it'll be someone else in that race.
Yeah. Well, I think Eric Sabreze takes it. I think he's made some bold moves during this COVID-19. I think
Hey, he
he's
forfeited, he suspended foreclosures for 2020.
did it before
That was,
anybody else in the country. That's
yeah,
some balls. That's some balls out right
yeah,
there.
it is.
Great move. Great move on the treasurer's part. Okay, Napoleon. It doesn't matter who's running against Benny Napoleon.
No,
You got any other races there?
not worth mentioning. I don't even think that any of the commissioners are really being challenged. I haven't seen who signed up. I think Tim Killeen may be challenged, but I can't, I haven't confirmed.
I heard from the person that was going to challenge him that I heard late night Sunday from one of the people that was going to challenge him that said they weren't going to do it.
So he's not going to do it. Okay.
Right. Yeah, he's just going to wait. So I think that basically sets it.
That
It
means
looks
he's
like
going to show. That means he's going to show up next year. I don't care what anybody says. He's showing up. Okay.
well, he's like that. Let's go on to Third Circuit Court if I can get down here. Yeah, we got 36th District Court. Have you heard anybody running in against the pack at 36th District? I haven't.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that last attempt with attorney Dwayne Johnson,
Right.
and I thought he ran a good race. To run up against a pack like that, I'm gonna tell you, that's pretty ballsy.
Okay, right now I'm looking at the Third Circuit Court, 6-year term, 15 positions, nothing but incumbents. Third Circuit Court, non-incumbent, 6-year term, 2 positions. And we have Chandra Baker, good friend of mine. Deanna Beard, okay, John Nicholas Hathaway, and
Another Hathaway.
Lynn S. Hawkins, but he changed his name. Wow, look at all these people that filed for this race. Lynn Shakira Hawkins, Mary Beth Kelly, she lives, and Frank Simone, all those people for 2 seats.
Mm.
You
know, that judge, when you run a judge race, it's so cliquish. You know, you almost have to kiss the ring in order to get inside if there's an open seat. And you have to have the support of the incumbents. It's just a weird race.
But then again, I come back to you. Okay, this is a race where social media can really do some damage. Okay, without mailing, without being able to go to the door, without being able to go to the Taylor Democratic Club. Okay, which is a place you have to go to win a circuit court seat. You don't have to go there without having to go to the Grosse Pointe Democratic Club because you can't all get together. All right. It's just hard. All right. Only way you're going to do that countywide is through social media, and you can't mail it. It's just so freaking expensive to mail it. So let's say you're in that top 4 that comes through that primary out of all those people, right? You've got to mail during a presidential election season. That is nuts. That's why.
So how do you silence all of that noise? That's what you have to ask yourself. And I'm going to tell you what the problem is that people will be willing to utilize social media, but they do not use their voice. That is one thing I can say about us on a People's Slate. We talked about the issues that really mattered to the people. We weren't soft on those issues. We were very clear about our positions and what we would do if elected to office. That's a rarity. People want to be so politically correct. And don't get me wrong, you have to have boundaries when you do something like that. But it's rare that you see a candidate that comes out that's bold, that says, this is wrong, but this is why it's wrong. And this is how it can be better. And the people deserve better. Because they're so worried about being liked and not offending the incumbent or the establishment. You don't understand how the majority of them, they work in the city, but they don't even live in the city, or they work in your district and they don't even live in your district. You have to understand what your district encompasses, and you need to make sure you target the least of us.
All right, Nicole, we got to switch gears. We've been on here for a while, but before this crisis hit, the outbreak hit, you guys, the People's Slate, were making some serious moves on the $600 million we were overcharged. Help me out with that. What's going on with that?
So what you'll see coming up soon is we're going to have an ask. Our new demand is we want to know what the city of Detroit is going to do about this summer tax bill coming out. There have been a lot of accommodations made, even by the county and by the state, due to the COVID crisis. So what is the city going to do? And I think the best thing that they could do is they need to offer a reduction for the summer tax bill. That's a great start.
But can they do that? I mean, Mayor Duggan has already done these major league cuts to the city budget. Can they take that hit from the summer tax bill?
Well, before we ask what they can do for the people, I think first we need to ask, where did that $11 million go? I still haven't seen an itemized budget or of expenditures of how he spent that initial $11 million when this crisis first was made public. Then now he's telling us we're going to be so many hundreds of millions of dollars in debt for what? I would like to see that contract for the lab that he using in New Jersey. And I also would like to see some of these people who have been hired as contractors, because I guarantee you some of them are going to be the same. They probably were on demolition or something else, but since they can't get the rest of that money, now they're going to have a money grab in this pot of money. No. You know, every time it comes to supporting the interest of the people, it's what they can't do. No, you can do it. And you know what else he can do? He can cut his executive managers by more than 5%. Start with himself. He could take a 20% pay cut.
That was rather nuts. I've had a lot of conversations on those cuts.
5%.
That's you don't even feel that.
No, they just had a raise. Don't forget, they just had another raise. Even if he cut them by 10 or 15%, it would put them right back to what they were making like maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm. I had a friend that reminded me that when we came in to work for Mr. Ficano, we came in under a pay cut. And under Kwame Kilpatrick, they came in under a pay cut. You know, so it's deep. There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered after this thing is over. All right. I mean, I think Duggan's doing a yeoman's effort right now, but those cuts don't really pass the total smell test. All right. It still seems like he's putting more burden on the least of these than the people at the top. All right. It just seems that way. But I think the man is running this crisis well. I think Denise Fair is doing a great job.
I disagree.
You don't think Denise Fair, our health department director, is doing a great job? I think she's doing a great job.
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Number one, we're so concerned about servicing the Tri-County area at the state fairgrounds before we secure our own interests. We have so many people who don't even know about the testing crisis. See, this is the problem. People assume that because you're engaged and you're reading on social media, or because you have a direct connect to the city, that everybody knows. When Duggan runs for office, I can tell you this: I can't get on Facebook without seeing a pop-up ad about him running for office.
So you're saying they're not doing
they have not done a good job of outreach.
So you're saying they're not doing enough outreach, even though they're doing these briefings every day. They're not doing enough outreach beyond that.
No. And I don't like the numbers that I see for the people who are coming to be tested. We need more Detroiters tested to flatten the curve. And how could we ever say that he's doing a great job when he has not restored all of the water? All across the country, even in China, they say, wash your hands, wash your hands.
But here's the issue on the water restoral. If you're restoring,
not the pipes, so don't tell me that garbage.
No. If you restore 3,000 homes, that takes a minute. I mean, that takes time.
Oh, no, it does not. Oh, no, it does not.
It's not like turning on.
You are wrong. You are wrong about that. Let me tell you why you're wrong about that. It takes less than 5 minutes to restore the water. Do you realize that when they cut your water off by community, usually by zip codes? They cut thousands of people's water off in one day. And if you go in there and pay your bill, your water will be restored that day, if not the next day. You know why? Because you paid your bill. So I need them to operate with the same zeal and zest that they did when they cut your water off to get you to come in and pay. And you mean to tell me that they leaflet 9,000 homes claiming that the water had been cut off since 2019, but 6,200 of them were abandoned? That many people who had their water cut off has not moved out of the city of Detroit. That is pure garbage. So you only restored 1,300 Detroiters water in over a month. Garbage.
Mm.
Pure garbage. So I would never say that he's doing the best job that he can. Cut the water on.
You say cut the water on. I say
cut
he's
the
doing
water.
it.
Cut
I
the
say
water
but
on.
I will agree with you.
Cut the
I will
water
agree
on.
with you on the outreach. I'll agree with you on the outreach.
And
I
you should agree with me about the water.
But I know it takes time to turn all those
I know that it does not take this much time to cut the water on. No, it is not. That is a fact.
So how many people are still without water?
We have a couple of thousand.
And you verified this how?
Because we have We the People and Hydrate Detroit, but We the People has a database, and I received several calls myself. Mm-hmm. And they contacted the RAP. They contacted the RAP number. Their water has not been restored.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do.
Admitted in a news article. I mean, you couldn't believe that if you said 9,000 people had their water off, you're going to tell me 60-something% of them no longer live in the city. You delivered all of those notifications to that many abandoned homes. Yeah, okay.
I tell you what I'm going to do, Nicole. Just because I like proving you wrong, I happen to be able to get to. I happen to be able to get right to the top of the water department. I will make a call tomorrow. All right.
Oh, it's Gary Brown.
And I tell you what, if you're right, I'll cash app you $50 so you can get some takeout.
No, you just make sure that you side with me publicly. That's all.
Oh, that's even worse than sending you cash app.
I know. That's what I want, because I know that I'm right. I know that I'm right.
All right, Nicole, this is going to be a hot summer. I thank you for joining me. We're going to need to do another update as soon as the final list comes out, and we call it because people drop out and people get challenged and all sorts of stuff. So we want to do it, but I want to thank you very much for joining me. And
thank
you all, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Those that you tuned in. Sorry about the background, but it's a hot summer. I didn't know how else to do it. How else to illustrate how hot this summer would be. Right, Nicole? Can I get away with that?
You already have.
I've already gotten away with it.
Yes,
thank
you
you,
have.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.